What has transpired here at the First Bank Center here in Denver, Colorado? It wasn't just a big night of fight. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. Good left hand from Rockhold. Right hand right back from Mike Perry.
Could I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. I'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City, Utah, folks. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Perry on the top. Right hand from Mike Perry. Double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Welcome to hour number 3, live right here on this Wednesday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. One final hour to go. A ton of Major League Baseball coming your way. We will set the stage for a full Wednesday slate around the bigs. Our MLB insider, the host of Newswire and Crystal Ball Seeker, that would be Craig Mish, joins us up next. But DRS, before we get to all of that, some NFL news with a focus on one Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, exactly. And this is going to be that one of those last linchpins of training camp where teams are going to maybe lose a player or teams are going to be able to gain a player. CD, we expect him to be in Dallas. You take a look at Chase, we expect him to be in Cincinnati. Brandon Ayuk, the questions are still playing out. By the way, sometimes I catch myself. You see the Brandon Ayuk pictures here, and it's almost like they're photoshopped in of how close he actually looks like Mike Tomlin or could be a relative. It's a wild scene if he goes there. You're going to have to get those side-by-side photos all the time, like long-lost family member at this point. Goodness.
They have done those mock-ups before. What would happen if Ayuk makes his way to the Steel City, where the Steelers are about to enter year number 18 under Mike Tomlin? But will Brandon Ayuk be a Pittsburgh Steeler? Will he stay in San Francisco with the 49ers? That was the question we had for all of you in Fade the Public. And before we dive in here at SportsGrid on Twitter, what team will Brandon Ayuk play for this season? Just a sincere thank you to the public and perhaps a round of applause. 386 votes on this Fade the Public poll. Brandon Ayuk and his next NFL destination, if he leaves San Francisco, is one to move the needle. So we asked and the public delivered. The 49ers, the Steelers, or other, if you think there's a potential next trade partner beyond Pittsburgh. But most of the public, Donnie, I think in line with our thinking as well, that he is going to stay in San Francisco. About 62% of the public saying the 49ers, a little bit more than 33% of the votes saying the Steelers, the other getting less than 5%. So most of the public thinking that in 2024, Brandon Ayuk will play for the 49ers.
Yes, and look, if you would have asked this same poll a week ago, when we had 3 teams that basically negotiated contract rights with the wide receiver Brandon Ayuk and also compensation going back to the 49ers, it would have been a landslide against the 49ers because you don't let your player typically scoop around, find a couple teams who are probably going to bid on each other in one afternoon, and away he would go because the 49ers have told Brandon Ayuk, whatever that number is, you're certainly not worth it. A lot of bad animosity, even like a month or two ago before training camp started. Ben, what did we see? The videos of, I want to be go to Washington. I want to get out of here. They don't treat me right. And it's just wild the way things work out. But now you're taking a look at the 49ers, who, again, if you had compensation that was agreed to on the wide receiver side and the team side, he should have been gone last week at this point. The fact that it's taking so long is his agents keep on going back to the 49ers knowing he doesn't want to leave San Francisco. Come on, their $3 million gap, close the gap to $1.5 million, maybe a few $100,000 in incentives here or there to try to swing it, where obviously the 49ers are trying to get the best bargain they can. But if he truly wanted to leave and got way more money from another franchise, why isn't he gone yet here? Of course, the 49ers I voted for, along with 62% of the other people. That's the way it's supposed to go.
So here's the top 5 paid wide receivers once again. Justin Jefferson, the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL, signed the extension earlier this offseason, $35 million per year. A.J. Brown, extension this offseason, $32 million. Amon-Ra St. Brown, extension earlier this offseason, $30.002 million. Tyreek Hill remains at $30 million this year. Did get some more guaranteed money up front from Miami just a few weeks ago. And Jalen Waddle entering year number 4, a contract extension that will kick in at the end of his rookie deal, but $28.25 million. Devontae Adams, $28 million. DJ Moore, $27.5 million. We don't know, Donnie, what Brandon Ayuk is asking for. And maybe you out there do not think that Brandon Ayuk deserves to be paid like one of the 5 or 10 highest paid wide receivers in the National Football League. I would push back on that. Even Nico Collins in Houston got a contract extension this offseason, now making $24.3 million per year. That's top 10 in the National Football League. I think Ayuk is worthy of $25 million. It's just, does San Francisco have the money to spend on Brandon Ayuk with what they have given out the past few off seasons, knowing that Brock Purdy's time to get paid is coming at the end of this year? But I think if a deal were to be done, and it had caused so much of a frustration for the 49ers, knowing that if they don't pay Ayuk this offseason and they don't give him that contract extension, he will be playing under the 5th and final year of his rookie deal, able to test the free agent market next offseason, it would have already happened. So I do believe that San Francisco is offering him something that I think is enticing enough to keep Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco.
Understanding the mindset of a wide receiver. Yes, you want to get paid. That's rule number 1 in the NFL and professional sports. That's why you're playing. You're not out there in the streets going, oh, you know what? I'll just play on Sunday afternoon. It's because football is fun. No, you're earning a living here and you're putting your body on the line. Having said that, wide receivers also, Ben, what do they want? A good quarterback, a great offensive coordinator, and a chance to win football games, which means they get the football a lot. And Ayuk does that. And he's performed fantastically with the San Francisco 49ers because it was just so simple, which, again, you can't fault a guy for just being about that business, which means New England Patriots offering him more money than anybody else. If it was just about the money, he'd be a Patriot in practice right now, getting ready for the regular season, going, you know what? The goal is to get paid. I don't know if my quarterback's going to be any good, but I got a massive bank account, and that's all I could wish for here. That sounds good until you take that money and wind up and say, this guy's throwing me the football. And then you meet up with your buddies at the end of the season where everybody's making big money. It is, hey, Brandon, you caught 52 passes, man. CeeDee Lamb over here. Yeah, I caught 135. Wide receivers always want the football and the big paycheck. He's trying to get both with the Niners, which I can't fault him. So there is a little bit of, you know what, I like what he's doing. Yeah. You have a better chance at winning and getting the football with the San Francisco 49ers. If that means taking a little bit less money than the rest of the league is offering, so be it at this point. But typically it is about the money and you go to the highest bidder. We're just kind of shaking that it's, look, 3 or 4 teams said, we'll give you more money than the 49ers, and he hasn't made that decision. He wants to be a Niner, and rightfully so. Why wouldn't you?
San Francisco, a 3-1 price to win the NFC Championship. They have played in that NFC title game 4 of the previous 5 seasons, winning the conference crown and playing in a Super Bowl 2 of the last 5 years. 3-1. Again, the price on the Niners, it's nearly half everybody else in the conference. The Eagles and the Lions tied for the second shortest number to win the NFC Championship at plus 550. San Fran, a co-favorite to win Super Bowl 59 against Kansas City at a 6-1 number, or alongside Kansas City. But against KC in those 2 Super Bowl appearances, the Chiefs have had the number of the 49ers. It would make sense, Donnie, that San Francisco also wants to keep Ayuk. Maybe understanding they can't give him $30 million per year, which maybe he believes he is entitled to, but understanding that he was the top target last year for Brock Purdy and trying to keep everybody happy for a Super Bowl contending team.
Yeah, and sooner than later, you got to get these guys in the camp. Even though we're not talking like Brandon Ayuk is the topic right now, but CeeDee Lamb taking a look at Jamar Chase, them just hanging out on the football field is not doing anybody anything good. And also from an Ayuk perspective, if you do transfer teams, that's a brand new playbook. That's new jargon, new lingo you have to learn. Move your family to a new city here. You don't want to do that a week before the regular season starts. You would have liked to have that taken care of in the past, which leads us to believe, once again, he's probably going to be a 49er. But it is just kind of odd where this, forget about the preseason per se. This has been lingering the past week and a half where deals are on the table ready to get signed, and he hasn't done that yet. That's what's so interesting about the situation.
So the Steelers' win total is 8.5. The under has the juice. I wonder if Brandon Ayuk were to be traded, what it would move Pittsburgh like in the market, knowing how competitive the AFC North is and the conference in the AFC overall, because the Steelers are consistent, but the Steelers have failed to even play in an AFC title game since 2016. Now we go to MLB with our insider Craig Mish next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Wednesday on the early line on SportsGrid, and we welcome on Craig Mish, our MLB insider, the host of Newswire, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time and probably somebody you want to listen to if he predicts the stock market or whatever other future thing, because somehow, some way, Craig Mish can see into the future. He is a truth sayer live right here on the early line. Craig, we appreciate the time, man. I don't know how you do it, but you do.
Well, look, we're getting into it here. It's not something I'm surprised I didn't clip this, by the way, and post it all over social media yesterday. Injuries are not something that I root for, but knowing the landscape of sort of some track history told me a little bit to pause before we make any declarations. Let's get into it here. I don't want to spoil the lead here.
Right. We'll go right into it as we touch them all with another edition of the Daily Basis. Again, we are not rooting for injuries. We are not glad to see this news, just rather marveling at the idea that Craig Mish kind of predicted this based on knowing Jazz Chisholm and his injury history in Miami, now in New York. Brian Hoke, who covers the Yankees for MLB.com, sharing out yesterday. Jazz Chisholm Jr. is likely headed to the IL with a left UCL injury. Club is attempting to determine the severity and if surgery will be needed. Of course, Craig yesterday said that when he saw Jazz Chisholm get injured earlier this week, to be a little bit skeptical, despite the fact that Jazz said he would be fine and be back in the lineup the following day. Craig, how did you come to know this? What do you make of the injury situation for Jazz Chisholm with the Yankees?
Yeah, so having like insight or inside information on the injury here is not accurate. That's not something that I had. But, it's funny. I had somebody watching our show yesterday telling me, you nailed it, like spot on. Here we go again. And again, this is no indictment on Jazz whatsoever. But in knowing his track record for being someone who diagnoses his own injuries, he's batting 100 or less. And, that's just a fact. I mean, Jazz has been hurt in the past, a lot of freak injuries, including, by the way, the one that just happened, which is no indictment on him. But what has happened in the past and continues to happen is after the game, Jazz says, I'm good and I'm going to play tomorrow. And the last few times this has happened, he's been out for the season. And so that's why when I saw this happen last night or 2 nights ago, whenever it was, the text started coming in. Did you see this? Did you see this? I'm like, oh boy, like here we go. And again, not rooting for this. In fact, I'm rooting for the opposite for Jazz. I want him to play 157 games this year and hit 40 home runs, which is probably what he would have done. But it just goes to show you that players cannot diagnose their own injuries. They all want to play. He wants to be in the lineup every single day. But the moral of the story is, unfortunately, guys, that this is a player that for another season is looking at a potentially extended absence. We don't know that yet. But if he does need UCL surgery, and we don't know that yet, that is going to cost him this season and maybe somewhat into next season as well. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen, but maybe just a lesson to be learned. When a player after a game says he's good and he's going to play the next day, you should be skeptical of that.
Absolutely. Specifically with the hamstring injury, Craig, just cramped up a little bit. Yep, seeing about a month and a half on that time stretch. The tough part about that for Jazz Chisholm is if it was for the Marlins, again, we don't want to see injuries. The Marlins aren't making the playoffs. He was going to play a big piece in that New York Yankees lineup, so we'll wait on that final outcome here on that injury. If we are taking a look at the National League, that wild card race is heating up. Why? Because the West just got really good. The Diamondbacks, the Padres, and the Braves, if the season ended right now, would be in that wild card race. But my goodness, Craig, the Diamondbacks and the Padres have really hit the gas pedal as of late.
Yeah, the Padres won again last night, and I think that we got to at least mention the fact that San Diego is not a team that goes into the postseason this year if they make it, and you look at 3 or 4 pitchers who can be dominant. Maybe we're changing our opinion of that last night. My gosh, Michael King was just incredible. 6 innings, no walks, 10 strikeouts. Is he going to front this rotation? Is he starter number 1 for the Padres when they go in? Joe Musgrove, what happened to him? Yu Darvish, what happened to him? I mean, it may be King. So that certainly changes the dynamic there. But you're right, Donnie, the Diamondbacks are playing great baseball as well. Everybody can't make the postseason. Someone's going to get left out here. I don't know who it's going to be.
You see the odds very strong in favor of both the Padres and the Diamondbacks, who have been on fire since the All-Star break. They are 4 games up over Atlanta. The Braves have a 2-game lead for that final NL wildcard spot over the Mets as of this moment. Now, not a wildcard race, but a divisional chase in the American League West. The Astros have a 1.5-game lead right now over the Seattle Mariners. Minus 280 is Houston to win the division. Craig, when all is said and done, at the end of 162, who is the American League West champ?
Man, I guess I got to go with Houston after all of that. I think I had them. I think at the beginning of the season, I said, don't write them off. Then I said, yes, let's write them off. Now I'm saying, let's not write them off. So again, I'm not your expert on the Astros this season, but they are going to get Kyle Tucker back. They talk about it every day. Verlander's getting closer to returning. I think Seattle did try. They got a Rosarina. They got some players. I don't think you can indict them for that, but Houston's track record tells you they're there. If Seattle doesn't make it, Ben, for whatever reason, I think there's going to be some serious conversation going on with the Mariners. I don't think that's an acceptable ending to their year if they don't make the postseason.
Let's get to some day baseball live right here on this Wednesday on the early line. We'll go to Minnesota, one of the few day games on this Wednesday. The Twins will host the Royals, Craig. It's a virtual pick'em. If Minnesota wins, it's a sweep over KC. If the Royals win, it could be big for their American League wild card standings. What do you like today in Minnesota, or what the prospect is for both of these teams?
Yeah, just kind of glancing at some of the exotics today, because predicting outcomes of these games is becoming tougher and tougher. Michael Massey, the second baseman of the Royals, has had multiple hits in 2 of his last 3 games. I saw on FanDuel he's plus money there to get 2+ hits. It's plus 250. So let's take that dart, throw it in that direction, and see if we cash it.
Craig Mish, the daily basis, like the days of old, looking at a position player. Come on. Craig, we'll see you tomorrow. More of the early line next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
About a month and a half remains in this Major League Baseball regular season. Let's take a quick look and check in on the odds for the individual award races around MLB. Things are solidifying and firming up quite a bit when you look at the MVP races and the Cy Young races around MLB. Aaron Judge still minus 850 to win the American League MVP award. Shohei Ohtani now minus 1900 to win the National League MVP award. Tarek Skubal minus 650, now make that minus 700 to win the American League Cy Young after another masterful performance yesterday against Seattle at home. And Chris Sale was darn good on Monday night in San Francisco. 7 innings of shutout baseball with 12 strikeouts. He's now minus 200 to win the NL Cy Young Award.
Yeah, there's a lot of different changes that are happening here. And certainly, I don't know what the big shifts are going to be down the stretch here, Ben, in this awards markets, unless we get some devastating injury news or somebody's going to do something historic, like hit a home run every single day in every single game to sort of change that landscape. If we are focused on the one award that's probably up for grabs, and the major awards, right? We're talking about the MVPs. They look like they're wrapped up here. Yeah. Cy Young in one league. Tarek Skubal has been sensational. Looks like he's going to walk away. But Chris Sale at a minus 200 price. Zach Wheeler at a plus 220 price. Hunter Green at a 9-1 price. And how about this? Paul Skeens now all the way back to 11-1. Now, here's what we want to talk about in the talking points here. It's nothing really that Skeens has done on the diamond that he can't get back into the race or sort of fallen back on. The one thing we did understand, he didn't start from the beginning of the season, so he would almost have to be perfect all the way through all of his starts throughout the rest of the season to win this thing. And it looked like for a time being he possibly could have done that. But also, you need some help from your own team. You need to be pitching in high leverage environments here. The Pittsburgh Pirates have dropped off the face of the earth in the last week and a half here, and that's going to damage it. And also from a betting perspective, and the odds makers know this as well. If Paul Skeens and the Pittsburgh Pirates are 14 games out of a playoff race with 2 weeks to go, I got news for you. He's not pitching the final 2 weeks of the season, or he's going to skip his final couple starts here. But that 11-1 price is shocking. He was in second just about, a week and a half ago, right around that 250, 280, 3-1 price, and now dipping to third and fourth now behind Hunter Green. That's kind of interesting here in that movement.
Yeah. It is really interesting, Donnie, and it's not just in the NL Cy Young as we look at the Rookie of the Year odds as well. I will say this, though, quickly about the National League Cy Young Award. I don't think Zach Wheeler is out of it. I think the movement for Chris Sale after his performance in San Francisco on Monday is justified. But Zach Wheeler has had one bad start in the last 2.5 months and will have many performances down the stretch to try to earn Philadelphia a divisional crown in favor of Atlanta, maybe the number 1 overall seed in the National League. But National League Rookie of the Year, that maybe about 2.5 months ago, 2 months ago, a month ago, when he was the MLB All-Star starter for the National League, you thought they were already etching out his name on the trophy, and rightfully so for Paul Skeens. That shows you minus 200. It's moved even a little bit overnight, minus 175 for Skeens to win the NL Cy Young, because San Diego's Jackson Merrill is having a great rookie season, steaming up the board as he has been one of the key contributors for a Padres team that is probably the hottest around MLB. A plus 135 number on Jackson Merrill. Now the second best price to win the National League Rookie of the Year.
And also, it's coinciding with that move up here. Obviously, he's playing good baseball, but now you take a look at the Padres back in that playoff picture and playing well with even an outside chance possibly to win the NL West, and he's been one of those catalysts here. So sometimes you have to ride that wave that you're looking at. If Skeens was dominant every performance, and, the Pittsburgh Pirates are above 500 every week throughout the rest of the season, he's going to get much more looks as well. So we'll see. If the Padres continue this hot streak and he's part of it, he's going to get that extra bump. If the Padres fall off and he's still playing well, he's not going to get that extra bump needed here. So a lot to be desired, or should I say a lot going to be desired down the stretch out of these young superstar players. They're in the spotlight. And sometimes on a day-to-day basis, hey, look at that. Yeah. Skeens just went 9 full innings of shutout baseball, 1 hit and 13 Ks. That'll put him back in that market here for the Cy Young. And same thing to be said about Jackson Merrill. Hey, look at that. 2 for 4 with 2 home runs. He will get a boost from that as well. Lot to be left out on the baseball field. And on a day-to-day basis, what have you done for me lately is what we're looking for.
A couple of other markets that are still available. Off the board, the American League Comeback Player of the Year, it was Garrett Crochet. Maybe he's run away with it. There was a couple of moving pieces around that market as well. Chris Sale, hefty favorite to win NL Comeback Player of the Year And I think the two managers that are favored to win their respective leagues award, Stephen Vogt, rookie season in Cleveland, Guardians' best record in the AL, and Pat Murphy taking the mantle in Milwaukee. The Brewers a 7.5-game lead for the top spot in the National League Central. Baseball breakdowns on this Wednesday slate in MLB next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
A Wednesday slate in Major League Baseball to break down for you here from the mind of Donnie Rightside. A full Wednesday slate, only 3 games in the afternoon hours. We've got a lot of 4-game sets this week out in the National League. That is included in Milwaukee. The Brewers host the Dodgers. LA, a slight road favorite once again. Total of 9. Walker Buehler and LA minus 118 on the money line. Of course, the Dodgers have taken the opening 2 games of this midweek set. LA has won 8 of its last 10. Do the good times continue for the Dodgers in Wisconsin?
I mean, why not? But it also is tough sometimes with a pitcher coming back off the IL, just showing some numbers here over the last 30 days. Nothing for Walker Buehler on the season itself. 169 batters faced, ISO high, weighted on base percentage high. This should be a chance for Milwaukee to get back into it. But sometimes you are just riding the hot team right now, and that's the Los Angeles Dodgers. And Frankie Montas on the mound, not great against lefties, not great against righties here, going up against a lineup. Hear me out on this. Frankie Montas, a right-handed pitcher. Over the past 30 days, this Dodgers lineup, 1 through 5, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Hernandez, and Lux. Take a look at these ISO power numbers here. Now, granted, Mookie Betts is just back. He only has 3 at-bats here, but he is at a 1,000 ISO power number because he did hit a home run there against a right-handed pitcher. Look at Ohtani, though, 66 at-bats, 386 ISO. Freddie Freeman, 42 at-bats, 189 ISO. Teoscar Hernandez, 71 at-bats, a 299 ISO. And Gavin Lux, 65 at-bats, 281 ISO. All high weighted on base percentages. They should do damage. You look at that cheap price, and yes, it is a public side on the Dodgers. I understand that. And you're going into say, well, I don't know, I'm going to get out of Walker Buehler. But I don't really care about Walker Buehler. It's what that Dodgers lineup can do to Frankie Montas is what I'd be worried about. I think it's a cheap price, and why not roll with the Dodgers again?
Shohei Ohtani, 2 straight days of a home run against the Brewers. He now has 37 to lead all of the National League. DRS, I was looking this up today, researching some stats to see where Ohtani ranked, to see where Tarek Skubal was in terms of his ERA. And you know what I learned? Ohtani is tied for the second most stolen bases in Major League Baseball. There's a huge gap between Elly De La Cruz, who has the most, 59 for Cincinnati. But Ohtani's tied for second with 33 stolen bags this year. Did you know that?
No, did not know that. And the guy does it all at this point. Imagine next year when we talk about the MVP race, when you're going to say, like, this guy's going to be at ERA of 2.50, stealing bases, hitting 40 bombs, batting 300. And you say, like, how much money can we renegotiate and send his contract higher at this point? He's been you're talking about a guy who's a DH making that big of an impact on your team all the way around. He's phenomenal, man. He really is.
It's minus 1,900 now for Ohtani. It might be minus 1,900 opening day on Ohtani for 2025, knowing he is going to be back on the mound as well. And Mookie Betts has returned and upped his average from a 301 that he had when he was the National League MVP frontrunner to a 308 in 2 games back. But I was told that if a guy won the MVP award, he wouldn't open up as the favorite the next year.
Yeah, I've been told on this network if Ohtani was actually in the American League that he would be so far behind a game than Aaron Judge. There's no way that he could win that. So go figure.
Man, a lot of confusing narratives. By the way, Walker Buehler makes his first start since the middle of June. A guy who had basically missed 2 full seasons in MLB after undergoing Tommy John. He made 8 starts from May to June. It was a struggle. He was one of 1-4 with a 5.84 ERA after nearly 2 months on the IL once again. The Dodgers, of course, hoping for greener pastures starting today in Milwaukee. Robbie Ray for San Francisco has only made 4 starts this year, making his debut in late July. Not bad, though. 2-1 with a 3.98 ERA, 2 earned runs or less in 3 of those 4 starts. San Francisco, a home favorite today against Atlanta. Both of the first 2 games of this set have gone to 10 innings. The Braves have won by a single run. Our guy Grant Holmes, though, on the other side for Atlanta against Robbie Ray.
Now, see, we missed it up here. Like, we're told, like, Ray Day. Shouldn't this be Ray Gun? I mean, come on, man. Let's keep into the topics right now, getting popped and fired up. We missed that one here. But if we are taking a look at Robbie Ray, last 60 days, xFIP minus numbers, very good, Ben, at a 91. But how about this? His last 84 batters that he has faced, ISO power number against, 239. Weighted on base percentage against, 335. So not all that fantastic, but he does have high strikeout rates. That's always going to bump up your analytical numbers. But why overcomplicate yourself in this game here today, Ben? If I tell you, we're in San Francisco, the ultimate pitcher's ballpark, 2 lineups that leave a lot to be desired. 2 previous games, hey, they're not scoring that many runs. Are we just going to say we're going to break out and score runs today? No, I don't like the pitchers all that much, but I think those pitchers can handle these lineups in that ballpark. I don't think we get to 8 runs. We're going under today again.
We've gone to extras in both games, and we haven't had more than 7 runs. That includes last night's 4-3 victory for Atlanta. The Diamondbacks looking for yet another sweep, yet another win here as of late, trying to sweep the Rockies. It actually has been close against Colorado. Both of the first 2 games of this set decided by just a lone run. Jake McCarthy, the hero last night in the desert. 2 RBI single to walk it off for the Diamondbacks in the bottom of the 9th. Jordan Montgomery gets the start today against Colorado, minus 190 in favor of the D-backs. Will it be a perfect 3-4-3 for Arizona in the midweek?
This is what makes it tough here. Look at that huge price point. Minus 215. If you want the dog price, it's a plus 180. You look at that Arizona Diamondbacks lineup, it sets up really well against anybody, particularly right-handed pitching. Everybody outside of Kevin Newman, off the charts, ISO, off the charts, weighted on base percentage. But we do know Major League Baseball is fickle. It's about that starting pitcher on the mound. If you're just looking at a pedigree name, who has it? It's going to be Arizona, which is why they're the heavy favorite. But if I told you over the past 60 days, Tanner Gordon has a 94 xFIP minus, but a 6.15 ERA. Why? Once again, the ERA minus takes you to the league average and makes sure that all pitchers are equal depending on what ballparks they're pitching in, which is why Gordon has that elevated number. If you flip it over, take a look at Jordan Montgomery. Out of 25 pitchers today on my card, he's actually number 22, a 122 xFIP minus, and also an ERA of 6. So if you're getting a little frisky out there and you want to take an underdog because you feel you might have the better pitcher on the bad team, that's the Colorado Rockies in this game. I say this because, well, Donnie, you can't do that. Arizona's red hot. Like, why would you go against a bad team against Colorado? Just a few days ago, we had a minus 340 price on Luis Gil of the New York Yankees. And we told you also, he probably wasn't the better pitcher in that game, and he wasn't, and they got bombed. Oh, we saying Colorado's going to win by 10 runs today? No. But I do think they might be sneaky today. Now, you cut and clip it, and the final score is 7-1. Colorado got wasted. That's what you get. But I'm just trying to present some facts here where sometimes you just look at the teams and say, should be a blowout victory. That's why that line is so high. And say, wait a second. Maybe you should just take a total or look to the dog here.
Yeah, completely agree. When you look at Arizona, though, 5 straight wins, 9 wins in their last 10 games, 13 wins in their last 15. San Diego, like Donnie mentioned, 2 straight victories for the Padres, also 9 wins in their last 10 games. It's crazy to see what these two teams are doing, running away with the top spots in the National League wildcard race and giving the Dodgers some chase in the National League West. LA has to keep winning, still have a 3.5 game advantage. Can the Reds or the Red Birds, that being the Cardinals, try to keep pace around the National League wild card? It's going to be difficult, but the Cardinals a minus 118 favorite today in the Great American Ballpark against Cincinnati. Total of 9.5. What do you like in Cincy?
I think they should be favored in this game. You take a look at Kyle Gibson, decent over the past 60 days, Ben. A 95 xFIP minus an ERA, 4.35. It's a little bit higher, but his xFIP number, not his xFIP minus, 3.89, very manageable. You get a decent Cincinnati lineup in there, no question. But also, you're looking at the pitchers here, right? Emilio Pagan's going to be on the mound on the season. 90 batters he's faced. He's a right-handed pitcher. Lefties have really gotten the best of him, but we don't have many at-bats over the past month for him. So if you just look at the roll of the dice and say you just don't like the Cardinals, okay, I understand it. But theoretically, for me, the better pitcher on the mound will be from the Cardinals' perspective, and I'll go that route. Slight favorites here. I agree with that.
Yeah, the Reds looking for the sweep over St. Louis. Cincy has won 3 straight dating back to their weekend set. The Cardinals have lost the first 2 here, also lost their finale over the weekend. 3 straight losses for St. Louis. So at the moment, the Cardinals 3.5 games back of Atlanta for the 3rd and final NL wildcard spot. The Reds 4.5 games out of that wildcard chase at the moment. Cincinnati has won 6 of its last 9. St. Louis has lost 8 of its last 12. Not where you want to be at this moment. More around MLB comes your way next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Cleveland looking for a series sweep at home over the Chicago Cubs. The Guardians and the Cubbies in the third and final game of their set. When you look at the numbers for today, Cleveland a -142 money line, favorite line working in their favor. 8.5 is that total. Will it be a perfect 3-for-3 for the Guardians, or can the Cubs scratch out a victory in the land?
Yeah, it might be a toss-up here at this point. You got Jameson Taillon on the mound. You're going to take on Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb's only had 21 batters that he's faced, so not a large sample size to try to dip into. But if we are looking at the opposite side with Jameson Taillon, I think we might have some opportunities for some RBI chances for the Cleveland Guardians. If we're looking at Taillon's numbers over the past 60 days, they're not bad, Ben. 96 xFIP minus, rated on average, ERA under 4, decent xFIP and Sierra numbers. But in the middle of that lineup, Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor, both batting from the left-hand side. Why is that the problem against Taillon? His last 46 batters he's faced from the left side. How about this? An ISO of 333 and a weighted on-base percentage of 438 against. Ramirez and Naylor in the middle of that lineup, a toss-up game. I think at least one of those two guys can get an RBI, which will put you into the plus money.
It's a good look. Another RBI prop, perhaps. John Kenzie Noel, +170. 2 home runs, 4 ribbies in the opener against the Cubs. A home run last night. That was the game-winning run for Cleveland. The Guardians have now won a couple of games in a row. 3.5 game advantage over Minnesota for that number 1 spot in the American League Central. The Guardians at 71-49. Best record in the AL, tied with the Dodgers for the best record around MLB. Speaking of the Twins and the Royals, one of the few day baseball games that we have on the card on this Wednesday. It is a slight pick'em, or a virtual pick'em, probably better said, today in case, oh, wow, now we're actually moving back. It's in Minnesota. It was -110 for the Twins when we asked about this game with Craig Mish. It was -112 on our graphic earlier in the day. Now it has swung back to KC at -112, maybe because of Craig Mish's pick for the day, Michael Massey, a couple of base knocks for KC.
I think it's actually a good look by him, too, because if you look at Louis Varland on the mound, not a great pitcher, 148 batters he's faced on the season. You know what he has problems with, Ben? Left-handed batters. So if you key on some of those and say, all right, if the wind is blowing in, though, from right field at double digits, that doesn't help left-handed batters. You're basically looking to pull home runs, and that might be a little bit of a hindrance. But there still is close to 80-degree temperatures today in Minneapolis. But if we are looking at Massey against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days, 68 bats he's had, Ben, a 200 ISO. You'll live with that. You take a look at Vinny Pasquantino, 75 at-bats against right-handed pitching over the past month, a 214 ISO power number. And MJ Melendez here, another left-handed batter with 34 at-bats against right-handed pitching over the past month, a 267 ISO power number. So for me, it's hard to trust some of these guys, which it's not a cop-out because you're going to get plus money on any RBI props you have. And as I said, left-handed batters might struggle a little bit with that wind blowing in from right field, but those three guys got some really good numbers against right-handed pitching, and a right-handed pitcher, Louis Varland, struggling with lefties. That's the side that makes the most sense to me. Forget about the side in the total. One of those two guys, or even three of them, can get RBI chances here for the Kansas City Royals.
KC's all-star Cole Reagans will be on the bump. Seth Lugo, also an all-star, but struggling as of late. He's lost 5 of 7, got the loss yesterday, got hammered by Minnesota in the 13-3 win for the Twins. Cole Reagans, on the other hand, has won 4 of his last 5 starts. KC a game up on Boston for the final American League wildcard spot. Minnesota in that second spot, looking up at the New York Yankees. And again, Cleveland a 3.5 game lead in the American League Central. The Houston Astros, winners of 7 in a row, looking for a sweep against the Tampa Bay Rays. Maybe not a sweep. This might be just the second. Anyway, looking for an 8th straight victory for the Stros in Tampa at the Trop. Houston -126 on the money line. The over-under is 8. Will Houston make it 8 straight?
8 in a row. They're going to get it done today. Take a look at Littell on the mound. Average pitcher at best. Last 94 batters that he's faced, a 193 ISO power number against, and a weighted on base percentage of 344. Not a huge strikeout guy, but if you're taking a look at that Houston Astros lineup starting to come to life, who would think in a lineup like, you know what? We don't want to go with Jose Altuve. He actually doesn't have very good numbers against right-handed pitching over the past month, but you know who does? That's Bregman. That's Alvarez. That's Diaz. That's Singleton in that lineup. Sometimes you just got to ride that hot team, and that's the Houston Astros right now. I think the pitching matchup is basically going to be a wash, but the Houston Astros playing much better baseball right now than the Rays. I'll go with the Astros winning their 8th straight game and taking care of business down at the Trop.
8 in a row would, in fact, be a midweek series sweep over the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
Ben, just trust your gut. Plus 560. That's the home run prop price for Alex Bregman, who has hit a home run in 4 consecutive games, of course, including the first 2 here at the Trop for Houston. The Astros have a game-and-a-half lead in the American League West, minus 280 now, a stronghold, at least from the odds makers' position, to win the division. What does Seattle have to say about that? The Mariners got lambasted yesterday, 15-1 in the Motor City. Tarek Skubal getting the better of Seattle and George Kirby for a second consecutive start. On the side today for Seattle, though, they are the favorites, minus 144 in the Motor City to bounce back from yesterday's defeat. Total at 8. Will Seattle do that? Will Seattle bounce back with a win today over the Tigers?
I believe they will do that today. And sometimes you don't want to step on that mound and say to yourself, oh, boy, they just scored 15 runs against the previous pitcher, who was a very good pitcher yesterday, and now me having to shut it down. But I think that's going to happen. Brian Wu-Tang, as they like to say out there for the Seattle Mariners on the mound today. Look at his numbers, Ben. 260 batters faced on the season, an 0.88 ISO power number, and a weighted on base percentage of 235. If you just take a look at the last 30 days, which included 90 batters, 0.91 ISO with a weighted on base percentage of 228. He's been really good. I think the Mariners bounce back in a big way today and pick up the victory. Bresky, not really a great pitcher on the mound. I do think the M's bounce back and pick the W up after getting embarrassed yesterday.
The Mariners did sweep the Mets over the weekend, also won their final midweek game last week. They were on a 4-game win streak entering yesterday's matchup against Tarek Skubal and the Tigers. That, of course, coming to an end. Trying to force a rubber match game on Thursday, some day baseball in Detroit. DRS, enjoy the money line, but before you go, any final thoughts on Jim Harbaugh no longer serving as the honorary captain for Michigan's season opener?
Make me commissioner of all sports. We will have that show cause extended into the NFL, so we won't be able to coach this year. That's just me. That's just me, people. That's just me.
Wow. People that hate Jim Harbaugh. Number 1, the NCAA. Number 2, Donnie Rightside. See you tomorrow on the early line starting at 8 a.m. Eastern time. More TEL for us, though, next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
One change in the legislature in Missouri is that this guy who's just totally against sports betting there is not going away.
This has been in progress since last fall. They got 300 and some thousand signatures. All they needed was 170, but those were all certified by local election boards. That had to be done by earlier this month. By tomorrow, the Secretary of State has to verify all those signatures.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back live right here on this Wednesday on the early line. Just a couple more minutes before we send you into your Wednesday afternoon. And, of course, as we get ready for a new college football season that starts in just a week and a half, a week from Saturday. I was telling some of my friends that college football starts a week from Saturday, and they're like, whoa, wait, week 0 is a week from Saturday? Yes, Saturday, August 24th, officially kicks off the college football campaign in 2024. Not exactly the most stellar slate you will ever see in week 0, at least as compared to a couple of the last few seasons. But still, we got Florida State and Georgia Tech, an ACC opener over in Ireland, a new ACC team, SMU, taking on Nevada. But that's week 0. For week number 1, it was reported last week that Jim Harbaugh, now no longer the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, would serve as the honorary captain for the Maize and Blue in their home debut and their season opener against Fresno State Saturday, August 31st. By far in front of when the NFL regular season was going to start. Harbaugh now, of course, the head coach of the LA Chargers. And that news was handed down after the NCAA severely punished and disciplined Jim Harbaugh for his role in recruiting violations over the COVID dead period, gave him a 4-year show clause and all of that pretty much to say, we hate you, Jim, even if you're in the National Football League. So Michigan caught some headlines because of the fact that Jim Harbaugh was set to serve as the honorary captain despite the discipline that was just handed down, as the Wolverines still await the notice of allegation for the sign-stealing operation spearheaded last year by Connor Stallions and over the past few seasons in Ann Arbor. We got word yesterday from Michigan's head coach Sharon Moore that Jim Harbaugh would no longer serve as the honorary captain for the team's opener against Fresno State. Here's the new skipper in Ann Arbor on the reasons why.
Yeah, I just talked to Coach yesterday, and really what went into the decision is we made that decision like in March, or I think it was January, February. So it's really to honor him of what he's done for Michigan. I mean, came back for 9 years and took us to where we are now. So it was really to honor him. It was nothing besides that. And yesterday he called me, told me that didn't feel that he could leave his team in true Coach Harbaugh fashion and wanted to be in the foxhole of his team and not want to make it look like he was taking a deep, long bow. So he's not going to make it for the game, but we're going to have some of our guys that are there, and then Jack and Jackie Harbaugh are going to take his place. So super excited about that.
Jack Harbaugh, Jim's father, served as an honorary or associate head coach last year during the first of the 2 Jim Harbaugh suspensions that each lasted 3 games. Let's not forget that Jim Harbaugh was suspended for Michigan's season opener a year ago, I believe against East Carolina, when his team lined up in a straight line, put their 4s up in the air to honor the number of their head coach and former Michigan quarterback. He wore the jersey number 4. I like what Sharon Moore had to say. They decided last week, maybe early this week, that despite coming to the agreement in March that maybe it was not best for Jim Harbaugh to be back in Ann Arbor when maybe NCAA investigators were waiting at the gates of the big house to issue that discipline and punishment. They said it's because Jim Harbaugh wants to better prepare for an NFL season that starts the following weekend for his LA Chargers side. We'll take them with their word. I kind of like the idea, by the way, that Michigan is the heel. I love the vitriol that Jim Harbaugh feels toward the NCAA that is reciprocated by the hatred that the organization feels to Jim Harbaugh. They hate each other, the NCAA and Harbaugh. It will be fascinating to see what that hatred and what the inability between the two sides, Harbaugh and his Michigan football program and the NCAA's investigators, will mean for the sign-stealing operation notice of allegation that should drop at some point before the 2024 college football season within the next week and a half, because it is clear in its discipline of Jim Harbaugh that the NCAA deems Michigan as a football program overall is a repeat offender of many different NCAA regulations. And, oh, by the way, The reigning national champions, the Michigan Wolverines, ranked 9th in the preseason AP poll, a 21.5-point favorite against Fresno State for that season opener in Ann Arbor on Saturday, August 31st. The early line returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, here on SportsGrid. Talk to you then.